was about to say my screen is black, but no, it's working. Okay, then, everybody. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. This is the first episode of Game Idea Foundry Talk. I know that name sounds long and arbitrary, and you can only see me in the upper right hand corner at the moment. Just unfortunately, I'm still figuring all this out. So you have my buddies Jay and Jack on the screen. So you'll be able to talk. You'll be able to see them, and you can look in the corner at my pitiful little square. There, they'll be the main attraction, I guess, right now.
Right.
But you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. Jay, you go ahead first.
We the podcast host.
All right, Jack.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jack. I used to be the host of the Gaming Grounds podcast, but I'm out that game real quick. So I'm now a part of the Winging It podcast.
See, cross promotion because I'm also a part of that podcast.
Right.
But we'll go ahead and get that going. And I should be sharing this out to people, and I don't know why I didn't. That's my fault. But I'll do that real quick. But the thing that we're here for today is to talk about Metroid and building a Metroid game from scratch, or what we would like for a Metroid game to be built from scratch.
Right.
So let me put this out there real quick.
You know, I was gonna say something that was probably gonna piss a lot of people off, but I'll keep it to myself.
Look,
See,
for
you put
this,
it
for
out
this
there
one,
now.
please do.
I was about to say, you don't put it out there now.
Nah, I'll probably put it on the Wing of the podcast just because I think it'll be hilariously funny.
Probably will be. But, okay, so from the polls that I did on Twitter, Metroid was the first subject picked. Then I did the poll for what we should be talking about with Metroid. Should be a single player campaign and multiplayer modes separate, or single and multiplayer campaigns. They were close, but single player with multiplayer modes won out by like one vote.
Really? Okay.
One vote. So that's what we're going with. Now this is retreading some water for me because I've done this concept before a couple times. But this is to go over like how, you know how they talked about doing Metroid Dread as a name for a game that they were going to go ahead and do, and then they just never ended up doing it.
Right.
So for me, I always thought of taking the concept of Super Mario 2 and The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, where you know the character is asleep and everything's happening in subcon. People don't realize that subcon is subconscious.
Okay.
So, how I looked at it is from the standpoint of Metroid Fusion, where Samus had been attacked by the X parasites before they infused her with the Metroid DNA. She could be in a coma having hallucinations, which that would play both into the horror aspect of the game, and it could still fit well within the story and plot lines. And they could be talking over top of her while they're operating on her trying to save her life, and they could be talking about different things, like the surgeons could be talking about different things that are going on with the Federation and dealing with like the inside politics that maybe Samus doesn't know much about. Because she was on that table, I think she was in that lab for like, what, 20 hours or something like that, as far as the story goes?
It was about a day, so
Yeah,
it was somewhere
so-
around
yeah,
somewhere in
24
that area.
hours, yeah.
So there's plenty of space for her to have these wild, overdone hallucinations where she's trapped in the world, facing off against different enemies that she's had. They could possibly add in like new power ups and new functions for her outfit and her suit, because it's all subconscious stuff.
Right.
So I would think for the horror aspect of it, stealing from Metroid Fusion, instead of it being the SAX that's following Samus around, we have an unstoppable, unkillable Ridley. Like, you can disable it, but she can't quite kill it. Like, she's done with all the various clones and mecha versions of him.
Okay. Now, with the illusions as well, like, could this also turn into kind of like a evil Ryu type thing to where it kind of produces a new form, new mentality, as well as like new powers, like you mentioned?
Yeah, I think that could play into it because again, you have something like Ridley popping up. You could also have Metroid Prime show up.
Right.
Eternal Darkness.
Yep. You
Eternal
know
Darkness, because you
you
can mess
leaning in
with
the right
her.
direction, like where the game will mess with you, have like a
Yeah.
meter dealing with her sanity and
Oh
stuff like
yeah.
that.
The only problem with that is, though, do you really want a woman who likes blowing up planets to have hallucinations? So,
It'd be a wild trip.
It really
It
would.
would be because you could
especially
also
if you're a doctor in that, especially if you're a doctor operating on a woo, 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 woo.
you could have a situation where in her dream state she thinks she's like killed something or she's blown up a planet and it just reforms and sucks her back in.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I can see that. You can mess with the horror aspect of it, but it's one of those situations where it depends on what kind of story you're going with, because there are a couple of different stories out there. But the one thing that I always found the same in each of these different stories, I'm talking about the manga they produced over in Japan that never made it over here. I
Unfortunately.
don't know why they didn't do that. Um, she does have PTSD, but
Yep.
I have to explain to people her PTSD does not affect her as the way you think. Her PTSD turns her into Frank Castle.
I'd say
That's
worse than Frank Castle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why like when you play through like Metroid Prime, especially the first and second one, you will always see, you'll always read lore where the space pirates are pretty much pissing on themselves when they see her ship,
Right.
Yeah.
because they know she's crazy. They're like, she don't take no prisoners, and just kill yourself if you see a ship.
Look,
Basically,
you got two options. You can go out guns blazing or you can run.
Right.
Those are your two options.
and if you stay on the planet she's on, the planet's blowing up, so you might as well just leave.
Like if you are far enough away when she lands on that planet, you might as well just take off. Just
Yeah, yeah,
don't ask questions. Don't tell nobody. Just leave.
yeah.
Leave and find
Yeah.
somewhere else to be.
But that's the thing. I mean, I like that because I like the manga that I've read that thankfully some people translated, and I think one of them was like right after the Game Boy, the Fusion one. I think it was right after Fusion, where
Fusion
they
is the
actually
last
talk.
storyline as far as Metroid is concerned right now.
Yeah, but
So
the manga, what they did with the manga though, they talked about her actual what happened when she was 5, Ridley leaving her for dead. They kind of like went over all of that a little bit,
Wow.
and I liked what they did with it, and that's why I kind of get upset when I see some people talk about, well, she's this. I'm like, no, you got the wrong idea about Samus. Like, Samus ain't no fragile person like that. She's kind of crazy.
kinda.
Right.
I'm
I mean,
being
she
nice.
got every reason to.
Yeah,
Look,
and she's more pissed off than anything else. Like,
Right.
seriously pissed off. And you don't want somebody that's seriously pissed off, souped up on the super soldier serum to the 20th power. Because that's
Right.
basically what, when they gave her that Chozo DNA, she pretty much became worse than Captain America, with a temper as bad as Frank Castle's.
and artillery enough to blow up planets,
Yeah,
Right.
which
Yeah.
she does on a regular basis. Planets,
and that's why we love
space
her.
stations, colonies.
Yeah.
It,
I mean, the only person she was actually afraid of, the only one that she's really actually afraid of, was Dark Samus. And that's because, like,
Yeah.
Dark Samus was like,
her,
it was her, basically.
Dark
Right.
Samus, and SAX were just her.
Yeah.
That's all they
So,
were.
like, really, I love how people think she's afraid of. She's not afraid of Ridley. She kills him. That's
Right.
There ain't no fear in that. That's like, oh, you back again? Let me kill you.
But that's
I'll
why I
kill you
say
as many times you keep coming.
that's why I say in her dream state he would be unkillable. That would in some ways mess with her head.
Right.
At least she's
Yeah,
already
it should mess with her head. It should. It should. Just depends on whoever how they write it. I wonder how you would do that. Because at a point you'd have to say because she knows he's cloned out at this point.
Yeah, she
So
knows.
she already knows. So I mean, it just depends on how they try to play it. But I wouldn't mind seeing them bring back, like you said, like Kraid or somebody like that. Somebody that she's killed that she knows shouldn't have a clone.
Yep.
I think that'll mess with her worse than Ridley. The problem with Ridley is they've already established that the Space Pirates made so many clones of him that she don't even get bothered by seeing him no more. She's like, damn, you back again?
Right.
Didn't I just kill you in Smash Brothers? So, I mean, it's one of them situations. So I think it would be, if you really wanted to like delve into like the horror aspect of it, you would have to bring back like Kraid or who's the guy in Hunters? Was it Weevil?
Yeah,
The space
I think
pirate
it was Weevil.
that she pretty much brutalized but didn't kill.
Yeah, because at the end of it there was
suit.
it was the end of it. There was that one ship that followed her, but you never know who it is.
Right.
I think that was Weevil.
It was his ship, but you don't have a way to confirm that he's in it.
Confirm,
They don't show the inside of it. I would assume it's him.
Yeah. So I mean, you could do that or something like that. But what would you do over the shoulder camera, or would you do first person?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because you could do a mix of both. They did do that in other.
I was going to say
I think
you could do a mix of both. I think over the shoulder would be better for like the moments where you find an enemy you can't take down, and you need to be able to do things with speed. Because in first person, you can't really get the same feel out of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Because first person, especially
true.
for Metroid, feels a lot more slow. But in like moments where Samus has to take off running at high speeds, third person would be the better option.
Yeah. Which I mean, we've seen games do that.
It's like playing through the Prime games, it does feel slower until you start playing something like Samus Returns or Other M, where she just feels like she's way faster.
Yeah.
Yep. Plus, I would want to be able to zoom out for third person for situations where she's doing close range attacks, because I would make sure that she has close up maneuvers. That's the one thing I think the Metroid series fails to do, is have her do a consistent number of close quarters combat moves, even though she should be able to. She's military trained.
Well, yeah, and the fact too, the other fact of that too is like the Chozo trained her as well, so it's like she's far beyond her hand to hand. You don't want that smoke. You just don't want the smoke. You don't want that smoke. I mean, if Other M taught us anything, she will British bulldog you and then shoot you in the mouth. I can't wait till she Stone Cold stun somebody.
You imagine?
Dude, I am not the only one who's thinking this. I'm thinking personally like a one-winged angel with a V trigger into a coffin drop for one of these games.
You got the whole thing going, right?
But he can already visualize how it's going to look.
Okay, hold on. Am I the only person who did not see that in Other M?
Nah, you right. I'm not gonna say you are.
Them finishers was basically WWE moves. I'm like, okay,
Damn sure
does
was.
Vince know about this?
I don't think he'd say much about it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the combat aspect of it, I mean, everybody's kind of leaning towards third person, which I think is kind of best suited anyway. But I mean, just playing Prime and having that first person aspect behind the visor was actually pretty cool. I don't know how you could do that in a over the shoulder type view. But to actually bring the melee aspect into it as well, opposed to just shooting or setting bombs, that'll take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But she'll definitely have to have an arsenal of moves that would make it worth it, opposed to just like a roundhouse kick and a couple of punches here and there. But yeah, you can definitely pan it out. And Smash Brothers, I'm pretty sure you can get Iwata to, not Iwata, but Sakurai to actually pan that out. And like, hey, look, can you give us a move set to actually put in the game for us?
I wouldn't be surprised if we already got like 15 pages of movesets for.
Probably. You probably do.
This is just to me. It's like one of those things that like you know she can do it, so why not
Yeah.
make her do it? Why not give her the
Yeah.
ability to? So I would set it up so you could swap between them on the fly instead of it just doing it on its own. So
Hmm.
everybody can play with their own play style. Plus, there's no way you're going to work that visor system in third person. It's just not
Nah.
going to work.
No, no, that would be strictly first. That would have to be a strictly first person
Yeah,
deal.
you'd have to do that in
But
first person.
so are you talking about something more like some more along the lines of like an action horror
Yeah,
type deal? Okay.
because it couldn't be
Oh,
straight horror because it's Metroid.
it's
And
Samus. Samus ain't scared of
Samus,
shit. Yeah,
it takes
it
a lot
don't
to
work.
crack her.
Yeah, and the only thing I could think that can crack her would have been Ridley, and she didn't kill. Like I said, she didn't killed him so many times. Even in lore spec, she don't care about him no more
Right.
Well, it could
like
you
that.
could go with the idea of again since we're placing this in between the moments in the beginning of fusion and when she's on the ship trying to reclaim all her stuff could be her herself like she's looking at her own reflection like a dark leak situation dark Samus but
Mhm.
instead of it being dark Samus itself it's just her
Right.
but like a literal dead version of her that she's running from.
Hmm.
All right, I already know how you do that. Metroid Prime, the first one. Remember the throne room, the ghost when you get
Yep.
jumped by the ghost,
Hmm.
Yeah.
the Chozo. Well, but you got to explain the Chozo. Never mind.
Which again, we don't know if she has contact with them. You can always make that a thread in the game. Like that she has some
It's
contact
implied.
with them.
It's implied. It's one of the reasons why the Federation don't like her because she won't give them up.
Which I wouldn't trust them either.
Yeah. Like it's been implied in like several of the games that she knows where they are. She just won't tell
Oh
nobody.
yeah, she ain't gonna tell them. Oh yeah, Trinell, there might be a way to work in the visor sort of in third person. Not really. I mean, you could if you have Samus standing and scanning it herself from a distance, but it doesn't give the same feel that you got in the Prime games.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, if you go with the whole, it's popping up on my wrist type ordeal and scanning, and I don't know, it just wouldn't feel right.
Like
Yeah, it
plus, it's just one of those things like when you think about how the background elements will be affected. Because if her
Right.
scanner changes, the environment around her changes, and that's not going to
Right.
look so. That's not going to look good in third person. It's going to look kind of like Saints Row, the fourth did. Saints Row 4 did when they were stuck in that VR world. Which for
Yeah, yeah,
Saints
yeah.
Row 4, that's great, but for Metroid, that's not quite going to work. Even
Right.
if you're dealing with her subconscious mind and knowing she's going nuts and crazy and losing her shit, it's just
Right.
not going to
okay.
work for that.
There may be a way to do this. What if certain parts of it have certain sections where you have to be in first person view?
No, I can understand that where the game it'll give you
Make you
hints to
do it.
do it. Yeah,
Yeah. And that's where you can handle most of your that's where most of the scanning will take place
yeah.
in that.
But I still want to
The,
be able to swap back and forth in between those sections. That's why I would like to keep that option available.
So kind of
yeah.
like Skyrim situation,
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you can
like
kind
the
of
Elder
do that.
Scrolls
Okay.
games. Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
where like there's certain situations where you kind of have to do it. The only because you don't want this to be like the one thing about Metroid that I like is the fact that they're not 100-hour games.
no,
So
they're not.
they're meant to be played like I think the how long did it take me to beat the first Metroid Prime? I think it was like 40 hours.
It's
That's not
somewhere
That's because I
bad.
between
had to
30 and
walk
40
everywhere.
hours.
Yeah, and that's only because I had to walk everywhere.
Right.
If I had to do all that backtracking, I probably would have had it done in 20. To be
Yeah,
honest,
because in
That
Prime
brings
2, in Prime 2 you do have the teleporters, right? Or was
yeah,
it 3?
and in 3 you got to use your ship,
Yeah,
right.
fly everywhere, so you didn't have to like pretty much walk everywhere like you did in 1. So, uh, it, in most of those games, only have to deal with one area. Now, if we're doing something like an Eternal Darkness type deal, it'll probably be a better idea to stick to one planet. You know what? Maybe, you know what? Now that I think about it, since we're doing this, her going crazy, have her relive when she got ran through by Ridley.
Actually, that would
Really
make a
mess
lot
with
of
her head.
sense.
It's like as a 5-year-old.
That would make a lot of
Like
sense.
have her watching it but she can't
She can't
affect like
stop it.
certain things. Yeah, certain things she can't affect, and that way you can like try and mess with her head at least, because like I said that I know people don't want to hear this, but they've made Samus. She is so mentally tough that it's kind of unfair. If you're going story wise, she's way too mentally tough to like easily crack. You can't. That was one of my issues with the story of other Elmos. I'm like, okay, that ain't Samus. That is not Samus. That's not Samus Aran.
Yeah, some of the things in that I can get some of the gripes people have had with that game, but as far as the action, no. But yeah, some of the story bits.
No, the gameplay was. If you complained about the gameplay, you didn't play that game. But story wise, I can't understand it. But if you've played through like a lot of the games, I ain't even gonna say like if you played through at least 80% of the games, there's one thing you notice about Samus. She is very mentally tough. Very tough. So much so to the point that the few friends that she do have are like, girl, you finna kill yourself. Stop. Like in 3, in Corruption, Rundish. Rundish like, girl, are you crazy? You about to blow yourself out of the hatch trying to kill this dude. He already dead. You shooting him in the mouth. He's not gonna come back from that.
No, he ain't.
But she was like, okay, you wanted to test my patience.
She's make sure he's extra dead.
Yeah, basically.
Now, I was thinking about something when you were talking about, the lore and the story of, Metroid or Samus, if you're just talking about the character. Do you think it would be wise for Nintendo to kind of play this old school to where it's like the whole Metroidvania, like doubling back and doing what you typically do on one planet, or kind of take the Sony route and catch people up for those that haven't played the previous games in a way and kind of keep it, story driven and keep you focused on, I guess kind of building and getting you up to that character and then eventually showing you the new threat that she's going to face without doing the whole doubling back, going here and finding my powers to go back there and do all the typical things that you would have in a Metroid game.
Well, I think you could do the going back, but they'd have to change up how it's done.
Right.
Because instead of going back to a place and you know where everything is, the layout and everything is static and going to stay the same, because her mind is so riddled and messed up, when she goes back to a place, things have been swapped to different locations. They'll all still be there, but they'll be rearranged. Like somebody else is there with her, even though
I like that.
No one else really is. It's just her head playing with her.
Got you. Yeah, I like that idea to where, like you said, it's the same level, but it's not the same level because
you could and make it do it on a regular basis. Like if you walk through a door and you turn around and walk back through that same door, immediately everything is changed, no matter how many times you do it. Man, I mean, you can get the configuration back, but it'll swap. Like they can't make it be procedurally generated. Like something like Minecraft's, but if they just have a certain number of setups for a room and it just swaps out to different ones every time you switch out, that could mess with people.
So now, is there ever a factor to where she starts to slowly become sane, or is this just going to be throughout the entirety of the game?
You'll have little hints of her getting her sanity back, as far as like I would imagine it, because again, it's this Samus. She's usually very focused, so it wouldn't be out the way to say, okay, yeah, she got it. She's realizing what's going on.
Right.
But with the people operating on her talking about things going on, she's getting little tidbits of that just coming out of nowhere. So it would sound like ghost voices to her, messing with her, which would make her question herself.
Gotcha.
And that
So
is the perfect way to bring in full voice acting, so people won't be complaining about her talking to herself.
Perfect.
it is
Just
the
like
perfect
what
way because
Zelda did the same way.
she could think somebody's trying to communicate with her through her equipment, even
Mhm.
though there's nobody doing that. You can just
Right.
hear the little whispers in the background, like them talking about like the Federation planning on like getting rid of her or something like that. Because it's pretty apparent if you play Metroid Fusion, that was their plan. They were trying to get
Yeah,
rid of her. They wanted her to finish that and then dispose of her.
because
But
they couldn't make their own Variety suit.
yep, that
They
wasn't
were
going to
trying to make,
happen.
and they couldn't do it. And since she wouldn't give up the Chozo, so they could try to force them to do it. They're like, all right, man. Once she does this, kill her. Which I actually wanted to see the look on their faces when they tried and that shit didn't work.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Yeah. When they try, because they don't, I don't think like, because they never said in any of the lore of the games that the Federation knows what training she went through before got to them.
They don't.
They have no clue. So, and I've always said, I'm like, if you take her out that suit, she's 10 times worse because now she's got all her speed back. The suit actually slows her down.
Yeah, it's defense in lieu of speed,
Yeah,
Right.
but it's not
but-
like she's slow with that suit on.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
no,
not
no,
slow
no.
with the suit on, but she's not slow with the suit on. But if you're worried about her with the suit on and she's fast, put her in that Zero suit,
Oh yeah.
and it's 5 times worse.
Yeah,
And on top of that, all of the fighting prowess she already has, because once again, she's not a normal human. She has kind of like superhuman strength because of the Chozo training and the DNA they gave her, pretty much the blood transfusion they gave her to save her life. So, like I said, it's kind of like being Captain America times 30 with the heart-shaped herb on top of
yeah.
it, basically. So that was one of the things I actually liked, because another sad thing about the Metroid verse, and this is probably a problem with, well, not really with Zelda, not anymore anyway, but with Metroid is a lot of the stuff is like implied story stuff. Like the Prime series is probably the most coherent of the stories,
Yeah,
but most of the other things is like they tell the story. The story is great but it's a lot of stuff is implied. They don't ever go back to. That's why one of the things I remember talking about with you, Andre, was they kind of need to go back and actually talk about the Chozo. We need a game where they just talk about the Chozo.
yeah. Where you get more information on them, other than that they were part of the same race as the space pirates, but the space pirates broke off.
Yeah. So like we need some more of that. That's why I was like, Koei Tecmo, Metroid Warriors.
Metroid Warriors.
I don't know if that's gonna happen.
That's not gonna happen. People that was a joke. People that was a joke, because I know some people are already mad. That was a joke. I'm not
The Metroid Warriors.
advocating that. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. No, but that's why I was like, they need to have at least like a couple of spin-offs that where they can actually talk about that, because the Chozo stuff is actually way more important to the story, in my opinion, than the Federation stuff.
Oh yeah, because it's the foundation of all the technology in the series.
Yeah. So,
Oh, we got
plus the giant bird statues,
yeah.
just all over the place.
I
For no
got
apparent reason.
answer Trinell here. By this point in the timeline, doesn't she also have Metroid DNA? By the end of Fusion, yes. Prior
Yes,
to
yeah.
Fusion, not at all.
No. It was just Chozo.
Yep. It was
All
just
she had was
Chozo.
Chozo.
But with that being said, if she's in a coma because of the X parasite attack, she's not going to be aware that she even has that DNA in her, so she wouldn't even be thinking about it.
Right.
Hey, question: have any of y'all seen Sales at Work? The anime Sales at Work.
I think I did at one point. I might have.
The reason why I bring it up is because there's a in that anime, you're inside of a human body and you see like the white cells. They basically tell you what all the functions of the human body is, but they do it in an anime way.
Like
So-
Osmosis Jones in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Osmosis Jones with a slasher flick in it,
Oh,
because like
okay. Gotcha.
the white blood cells, they are pretty much throat slitting killers.
All right then. What's
But they're
that called
killing
again?
viruses. It's hilarious, but it's wrong, and they're killing viruses. So the reason why I bring that up is you could probably do that and make like the main villain the actual X parasite itself,
Yep.
hmm
and
Yeah.
have it. And once again, you probably use some nice little tying touches. Have her where we actually get to meet a couple of the people, a couple of the Chozo that trained her, and
hmm
have her where we go back through that. There's a couple ways to play that, but if we want to play up the horror aspect, do you use that RE camera, the one
Yeah.
from 2 and 3?
Yeah.
Yep.
hmm Yep.
Especially if you were to take people from that team and drag them onto this project.
Which I don't
Because
think that'd be hard to do.
no, it wouldn't be because of
Nah.
how famous of a franchise it is.
Yeah.
Plus, they would bring the horror aspect to the table.
Right.
Not that Nintendo hasn't done a good job of that with Fusion and a couple other games in the series with some of the scenarios they throw you in.
I
hmm
think they just need to like. I mean, I think if anything, they would need to. It's the camera. They would need them for the camera.
Yeah,
To
Yeah.
be honest, I don't think because one of the most effed up parts of freaking what was that with the Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time? Yeah, yeah,
hmm
yeah.
yeah,
That camera
Yeah.
got you hemmed up.
yeah. So yeah, so but yeah, they would need like they would need them for like the camera and probably some of the because I don't think jump scares would actually work,
Nah.
Nah,
but
not if you
atmospheric,
overdo it. No.
yeah. No, you'd have to keep them things to like a minimum. So like let's just say for instance it's like a 20-hour game. We don't need no 300 jump scares. We just need
Right.
like 10.
I was gonna say somewhere between 5 and 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they
Like
need
10
to be
tops.
where you would not expect to find anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At
Now,
least most of them would. Like a couple of them could be in places that you would expect, but most
mm,
of them would have to be you just in between completing one mission to the next, and something pops up and completely disrupts your plans,
Right.
yeah.
like a
And you.
surprise Xenoblade boss fight.
And which knowing Samus, she would extinguish that with extreme prejudice. So yeah. That's the one thing I love about Samus. Like I would love for her to like have like a Lionel run up on her and she'd be like, "Oh, really? This? Okay, come here." Like, the Lionel start running from her.
Start riding them like Monster Hunter Rise in here.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
you'd be like, "Don't you run from me!" Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to be around her like at any point dealing with animals of any kind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it could definitely be an interesting game, especially if you give a little bit more to the horror side of it. Because I mean, you have to factor in, like you said, the camera, the music, where the score has to come into play. If you're talking about your different visuals, because for me, I don't know of too many first person horror games that work. I feel like it has to be in that third person aspect or that over the shoulder aspect. Because I mean, I think that's why Resident Evil 4 is so beloved at that point, because of how everything just kind of works in that game. But yeah, I mean, if you can get Capcom on board to do something with this as well, yeah, this game could be above and beyond. But definitely, I mean, would have to go back to the roots, like you said, Chozo. Like, I don't know much about it, and I'm pretty sure it's not much being said about it. So I mean, I can only imagine what that would do to the story and the lore to bring people in if you kind of get a hint of what's going on with Samus.
The biggest problem is, and this is with people who have played Prime, is you can
Mm.
tell the people that played Prime didn't do all the scanning. They just played
Oh
through
my
Right.
game
gosh.
and shot up stuff.
Oh, I'm one of, yeah, that's me all the way through.
But if you sit there and scan through everything, which is why that system was set up the way it was, you actually learn a lot about them.
Right.
So, like, but yeah, most people just scanned the enemies, shot them up, and went on to the next thing.
Because
Yep.
I've gotten into multiple uh discussions, as it were,
Whatever you want to call it.
with certain people trying to explain to me why I didn't know what I was talking about. To which I had to tell them exactly where to go, what room to go into, and where the lore I was talking about was actually at.
Wow.
That's how many times I've played through all three Metroid Prime games. Because really, the first game, all you got to get is like, I think, what is it, 92% of the 92% of the scanning will give you the full
Yep.
thing. You ain't got to get 100. You ain't got
Wow.
100% it. And in two, you only had to get 90.
Yep.
So it wasn't like they even kind of made it a little bit easier for you.
Right.
There was
So
also less to scan in the second game.
yeah, in the second game, it was all about basically you being on the run.
Yeah, and this
So
this would be a similar concept. You you,
yeah,
you on the run constantly.
yeah, because the second one wasn't that long either. The second one was like what, like 16 hours or something like that. It wasn't that long.
No, it wasn't. Unless you got lost.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's
Well,
with any
your
Metroid game.
first playthrough is probably gonna be a little bit longer just because you don't know where the hell you going. But once you
Right.
get through that first playthrough, man, that game does not take long.
Mm.
I think that was one of the reasons why I didn't like it, because I was like,
It's
okay, what
definitely
the,
much shorter than the first one.
yeah.
And then
I think three hit that sweet spot though.
it is also because of the benefit of having the shortcuts and stuff that weren't in the first game.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Oh
true.
yeah, Trinell, you're right about that. Prime One was hilarious when you scan the computers and you read the space pirates are afraid of Samus.
Yeah,
Run on sight.
I mean, because that was one of the other things that was actually good about it, because they actually explained why they killed her as soon as they saw her when she was 5 years old. They explained why. They were like, because they had a prophecy that the hatchling was gonna kill all of them. So Ridley was like, oh, you a 5-year-old? That is so cute. Tail spear,
Right through her
and he
stomach.
left her for dead after he freaking seen her parents. Which, I mean, people say Nintendo is like a kitty company, but I'm like, no, they're not.
But like you guys just explained, like if you don't go through and scan everything, or with Zelda go through the whole lore, you wouldn't know. If everything is on the surface, then of course people would kind of change the narrative a little bit. But
Yeah,
if it's something that you have to seek out, it's gonna stay the same.
yeah.
Mm.
But the other thing too is since the game series itself is actually inspired by Alien,
Right.
probably could get away with some Alien type stuff in it.
Yeah, more than likely you
Yeah.
could.
Yeah. I mean, not the facehugger stuff and the busting out of stomachs and chests.
Well, you could get away.
But
You could no. You could get away with the face hugger because I'm sorry. In Super Metroid, you find the
oh
other
yeah,
bounty
you're right.
hunter
Yeah,
headless before you fight Kraid.
yeah, that is right. That is right. Yeah. So you can do that. The chest
What's up,
thing
Grunt?
though, you can't really do that. You don't want to turn to dead space.
Yeah, no. Oh no, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But I think we got at least a concrete foundation for a single player campaign, even if there's
Right.
some loose ends that need to be tied up. It's at least
Right.
somewhere to start. You want it to be able to be action heavy, but it still has to have a horror type environment. Things have to keep you on edge. We already established that. And the game has to mess with your head very similarly to what Eternal Darkness did on the GameCube.
Right.
So that's all in place. Now multiplayer could actually be the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do wish people would have pushed for a multiplayer campaign because I had an idea for that, but that'll be another discussion at a separate time. And since nobody wanted that, well, not nobody, but it got outvoted. But for multiplayer stuff, as much as I like it, I would not want in Blast Ball. Got nixed that, at least for this
Yeah.
game. Just
Because
because
that'll kill the whole aesthetic of the
yeah,
game.
it would kill it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I would set it up where multiplayer is more like the Federation soldiers and them trying to adapt Samus's technology in like scenarios where it's like them doing something similar to like what Republic Commando was, but actually being good.
Okay.
Where
Yeah.
you're taking on
Facts.
groups and legions of space pirates trying to capture facilities and stuff, because we know Samus isn't the only soldier or bounty hunter in the Metroid universe.
Hmm.
And there could either be bounty hunter teams that would be out for a Federation or working for the space pirates or whatever. But like you could have it set up that way where you actually could have people set up and make their own bounty hunters in a multiplayer setup mode. Something that's
Right.
separate
So
from Samus but not like totally beneath her.
okay, so something like so what would you have like the I don't want to say standard, but the normal modes like deathmatch, team deathmatch, and then add something like special.
Yep.
Add some PVE, PvP stuff.
Yeah, I definitely would.
Okay. Because the one thing I will say, I'm starting to like more multiplayer that actually has like PvE stuff. Like when you team up to take on like an enemy, like
Yeah.
Halo 5 with that War Zones, where you actually team up to take out like a Promethean or like an Elite or something like that. You
Right.
can actually do that in the Metroid universe because if you played through Metroid Prime 1, that goddamn Elite Pirate, that's some that cheating bastard. Um, how you going? I went through 100 missiles and it just knocked one plate off. Of course, you do realize I had to shoot a bird at the screen the entire time I was fighting him, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, hi,
But yeah,
Randolph.
but yeah, I think that that's one of those situations where like you could actually do that and actually make it work.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I say that because I like Halo as well. I'm a Halo fan too, and I actually like. I know a lot of people didn't like War Zones. I liked it. I liked it because it was different and it was PVE.
Right.
I don't really I don't get nothing out of PvP no more.
Right.
Nah,
Yeah.
It's not fun to me. It just ain't fun to me no more. So, but PVE I kind of like that because you have to team up and actually use strategy to like take out actual, you know, AI control enemies. So,
Mm.
and once again, like the Omega Pirate, you can put in the Omega Pirate, the Elite Pirate, you
Mhm.
know, those type of steroid enhanced life forms.
That would be
So
cool.
what was that one game that was kind of centered around that to where you could play as like the monster and you had other people that were trying to
About
chase you
Evolve.
down? Right. So I was thinking of something like that, even though that did horrible.
That did
But
horrible because they talked about it like it was a free to play, but then they charged you money for it.
right,
Yeah, you can't do that.
right.
But
So I think that would work here.
this would be baked in because you would still be playing like with a squad, but I'd make the squad be more than four. I'd probably had a squad's range somewhere between 4 and 8, and have you
Okay.
take on like the big monsters. You could have your big monster Kraid or Kraid clone that people have to fight. Doesn't necessarily have to be Kraid himself. And like the fake Ridleys that are in there. You can have big bosses like that happen. And what's up, Vicky? But the thing is that they have to be. Oh, here we go. This is how I can set it up. That way, people can still see me. Now I'm at the bottom in the middle. But I would love to see stuff like that and have like a firefight mode, like what Halos was, where you're just taking on wave after wave after
After
wave,
wave.
and
Yeah.
seeing how long you can survive and who can survive, who can be the individual that survives the longest, and how far the team can go and stuff like that.
Right.
So those would be modes I would be happy to see thrown into a Metroid game for a multiplayer, because it would be cool. Oh, what's up,
Right.
Shadow?
Can
You in there too?
Can I add one? Can I add one little thing? Because I've been back on my Perfect Dark grind, not that Perfect Dark Zero, but the actual Perfect Dark, Perfect Dark.
The OG.
So you know, Perfect Dark, they had their that multiplayer mode. They had all the unlockables that made absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So would you actually add like the craziness on that end, like have you play as like a Mohawk Chozo or something?
Yeah, I would look. I would go for it just because.
Yeah,
Because again, if you're giving people the option to customize their characters, why not?
Right.
why
Yeah.
not? Yeah.
Make
And
your
that
own
would
little
actually
bounty.
be cool because you know what? If you add the melee aspect from Samus's thing, you can actually put melee on a lot of people. And like you
Yep.
said, Sakurai screwed it up for everybody. Since
Oh
we can
yeah,
do
he
8
messed it
people
up.
on Smash,
Yeah,
like I expect 8 people like that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I
Like
could
Sakurai
see,
screwed it up for everybody.
but I could see setting up something like that, and then if people want to do team versus team, you could have actual human teams of 8 players versus 8 other players.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, man, it'd be a nice way for them to also kind of bring back, I guess you could say, Federation Force in a way. Because honestly, I think that game kind of got crapped on because it wasn't a new Metroid game, but with Samus. But I mean, honestly, it'd be a nice way to do the multiplayer as well.
I think if Federation Force was strictly just a multiplayer game that was attached to a
Right,
mainline Metroid, people probably wouldn't have been as mad. But at
right.
the same
Yeah,
time, that's what everybody was asking for. And I'm
yep,
essentially saying do the same thing here, but don't do the strict missions for it. Just make it a multiplayer mode where people can have fun with it.
right,
And yeah,
right, right.
Vicky, we talked about first and third person cameras. So it ain't just gonna be it ain't just gonna be first person. Give people preference and choice. So if you want to watch the slaughter up close and personal, like in Halo with an energy sword or a gravity hammer, you got that option.
Yeah.
So
But I actually think this could actually work though. I mean, given now the other thing too is we know that Retro been hiring right now. I think they're hiring. They have like 100,000 people employed. If you keep seeing all the people they've been hiring, like dang.
Yeah,
yeah,
they got to be doing something huge. And like I said, the
Yeah.
only issue I take with it is that I just honestly think is going to do the Zelda thing, and it's going to be at the end of the Switch and the beginning of whatever
The
this new
next one.
console is going to be. Yeah,
which would be fine. Just look, make it look. If they're gonna make the next platform play the games from the previous, then just make it for the previous and just give enhancements for the new platform.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That way people can still play back and forth, and just in case people can't get the newer platform, they can still get the game and play with everybody else.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I this would be a game I would pick up, and honestly, at this point, we're seeing a lot more games that people would pay attention to play it now due to the Switch. Like the Switch just has that appeal. So I mean, if you think about everything that we're talking about now, I don't know how you're going to do anything close to what Eternal Darkness has done, but I mean, I feel like you can kind of get pretty close to where you can kind of mess with people to where they're not freaking out thinking that their switches have actually broken or something has actually gone wrong with the game.
Oh
But
man, with the wrong person, they throw their switch across the room and it actually break.
That, I
Joy-Con
mean,
drift, no.
I mean, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I was playing Eternal Darkness one time when I was in college, and I was in the middle of like a 3-hour gaming session, and they did that one where they showed your memory card erase. I dove across the coffee table, rolled off, and tried to hit my GameCube because I forgot that it's. So yeah, they'd have to mess with you, but they can't mess with you like that. Not
right. It
Nah.
has to be like in-game type stuff. It can't be
Yeah.
nothing dealing with the
You
system.
you really would have somebody pick up their switch and chuck it out a window and hit somebody in the head with it.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, it worked back then, and it was a cool effect and a cool gameplay mechanic. But now you can't show somebody whole entire hard drive getting erased.
Nah.
Too many people react horribly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean? Nope, you can't. You don't get the newer platform. Then you can't. Nah, Vicky, we can't do that. Can't do. We not doing what Microsoft and Sony tried to do with the Xbox One and PS4, and it didn't work. Not gonna do that.
Yeah, because honestly, I mean, I think that would really do something different. I mean, because you have to recreate Metroid at this point. Because as much as people want it, the sales are not showing the love for it. So, I mean, you
Nope.
have to do something different to bring in more appeal for it. And I think this will be something that will do it, especially on the horror aspect. You see how much love Resident Evil gets. I mean, I definitely take that with action adventure, like we said, and yeah, I think you got a moneymaker with the Switch love on top of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be a killer.
Well, the other thing too is I think like what would actually help Metroid out a lot is like they really do need to think about doing spin-offs because they take too long to make one.
Right, right.
They take entirely too long to make one.
Yeah.
This ain't like, and I get where Nintendo comes from with this. Usually, their main things only have like one game a generation. Like Zelda's is usually one game a generation. Usually,
Right.
Your Mario, you can get away with Mario 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 12 games per generation.
Mario
Just
has too
because-
much different variation. That's why he gets
Way
away
too
with it.
many. Yeah.
Yeah, way too many. But like your Metroids, your Star Foxes, your Zeldas, most of those games are once a generation if you get one.
Mhm.
And the problem with Metroid is, like you said, people complain about it, but the sales don't reflect the complaints.
Right.
Nope.
Yep.
And when they drop one, it's damn near a masterpiece, but you're not playing it. So if I'm Nintendo and I'm sitting up here and I'm looking in that boardroom and I got to look at these sales figures, I'm like, okay, y'all saying y'all want this, but who is buying it? Because we only sold 1 million copies, and that was over the life of the system. that wasn't in a month. So, I mean, I love Metroid Prime to death, but I think the first one, what was it? Like,
It was about 3 million.
it was about 3 million.
Yeah.
It wasn't that much. So it's one of those situations where you're like, okay, maybe what you need to do, Nintendo, is probably work with a lot of different people and start probably trying to chunk out some smaller games that
I mean, they just
tie
look,
people over.
they just acquired Next Level.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Some
There you
smaller
go.
Stick
games
them on some
that can
smaller
tie
games.
people over until your main one come out. And look, I know I keep harping on Platinum, but if Hideki Kamiya want to make a Metroid game, you think I'm gonna tell him no?
Right.
I wouldn't.
I would not. I'd be
Because
like, hey,
honestly, it would literally, you can give another version of Other M, but as long as Metroid Prime 4 is out the way, I think this type of version will be more acceptable. Because honestly, a lot of different things that come along with Metroid kind of get put to the side because the main line is missing.
Yep.
So once when you get that main line out the way, then yeah, you can do a whole lot of side spin stuff. I mean, hell, Mario do it.
and another thing too, I would give Team Ninja another shot because they did not. screw
Yeah.
that
No,
game.
they didn't.
They
mess
They
with
did
that
not.
game.
They gave people. They gave all the loud people exactly what they wanted. They wanted
Right.
full voice acting. They wanted full cinematic cutscenes. You got it, but you forgot it's a single player game with one person going around a building or a planet
Right.
by herself.
Yeah.
Who the hell she talking to? She don't have Jarvis in her suit, so who's she talking to?
Herself.
There you go. So
What about live action like that new game, The Medium?
I want to see more of that. Before
I'm waiting to play it when it's available. I already
Yeah.
got it
Yeah.
set up for my PC through Game Pass. I'm just waiting.
It
Yeah.
looks. I will give it this. The way they set it up, it looks interesting. Medium
Right.
looks very interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know how that's gonna work for because once again we're talking about a person, a character who she really ain't scared of shit. I mean, of anything. B, nothing really rattles her. Not really.
Other than
What
her,
rattles her? Huh?
other than herself, yeah, nothing. Because you think about it, she got freaked out when she saw Dark Samus, and she got freaked out when she saw SAX.
Yeah. Other than that, like people claim she got freaked out when she saw Ridley. She put her foot on his mouth, her hand on the roof of his mouth, and shot in his mouth. I don't think she was freaked out by him.
Well, that is a freak out, but not the kind that people
Not
talking
the way
about.
you think.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those situations where you kind of have to have something that can make her get worried at least.
I mean, in the scenario we came up with, the X Parasite would be perfect for that because it did just massively injure her.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that like just a gigantic X Parasite or something that shape shifts, because it's not like she didn't know they did that before. She knew that they did.
Yeah.
So that could be also something that would be a good idea to include.
And also, we got to include the greatest meme of all time from Smash Bros. Ultimate, her unabashed love for Little Mac.
If you're gonna do that, it has to be. If you want to do that, I say put that in the multiplayer side of things. Don't stick that. In.
Yeah, I would do that as an Easter egg, just to have a poster of Little Mac.
Yeah, just have a poster of it
That's-
posted around certain
Yeah.
multiplayer maps.
Yeah,
Different
we're just doing
posters.
the whole Little Mac post.
I could say like different posters, and Nintendo could run a contest for this and have a fan art contest for it.
Man, we already know who's gonna win that. Boss Logic.
I'm not going to disagree there. I'm gonna leave that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think. I mean, there's a lot more we could push on this, but at that point, we'd be dragging it. And I want this to stay a fresh thing, and give people more time to play around with it and talk about it. I do appreciate everybody that showed up and showed love to the podcast. My first episode for the year. Thank you guys for jumping in and being there to leave the comments. Going to be doing this once a month currently. Things might change later on, but once a month for now, because I don't know how things are going to go. And plus, family situation, expecting a child, I'd rather not put so much focus on this. So you guys get once a month. It gives me time to plan it out mentally, and we can bounce around different subjects. So I'm going to leave this up to you guys for the next one. I don't know who's going to be on it, but for the next one, I can either go with a Zelda, a Mario and Sonic, because I have a new idea for that, or a revival of an old series that nobody knows about.
Watch it be F-Zero.
I said
You already know,
nobody
'cause
knows about.
Watch it be F-Zero.
Now, when you say Mario and Sonic, what do you mean? I mean, you talking about like the Olympic Games or something that's actually worth
Like an
doing?
actual Mario Sonic adventure platformer. Because I've done it before. I've done it a couple times before, but I have a new idea for it.
Oh, so you mean like Mario and Sonic at the Tournament of Power facing off against Jiren and Hit?
Really? Really?
Not
Hey,
that.
look.
Not
Look,
that crazy.
they just made Mario go Super Saiyan. All right.
That's true.
I mean, I've always thought about Nintendo doing a Sonic game, but having him with Mario, that'd be kind of interesting. Because I mean, they've slowed Sonic down before, so the speed's not an issue. So I'm just kind of curious how those
where
work.
my
those
idea
worlds
works, they don't even have to slow him down.
Right.
He can be fast,
Hmm.
and everybody else can get their speed back too. Because Sega, for some reason, slowed all their characters down. Like I don't know.
I don't know why they did that. I really don't. But the Zelda one, I would like to be on. I would just throw in my hat.
Okay, but that's why I'm just leaving it up to. I'm leaving that up to a vote. I'll probably put the poll up on Sunday.
Okay.
I'll put the poll up on Sunday. So I'll leave it to a vote.
F-Zero.
It ain't gonna be F-Zero because look, if it's a game that nobody knows about or people don't really talk about, I'm picking. So it ain't gonna be F-Zero.
Gotcha. Extreme.
Even though I do also have ideas for I do also have an idea for F-Zero, but that's gonna be down the line. This is something I can talk about with that. I figured out how they could make a new game. But
You did?
yes, I did.
That'd be interesting because even Nintendo says they're out of ideas. And, I don't know. I feel like racing and fighting games are like the hardest things to transcend. Because I mean, honestly, they're kind of what they are.
They
Man,
are.
GX was so good, man.
That was an amazing game. It was a hard game, but it was amazing.
It was amazing. Like once you figured it out, they really did. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. But okay, I see one vote for Zelda.
Yep.
Yeah, keep on for Zelda. Keep on for Zelda.
But
Gotta rep the aisle. Gabora.
That damn owl was so annoying. That
I
owl
know,
was
man. He gets
so
on my damn
annoying.
nerves. But branding.
All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up then. I had something I was gonna say and then completely lost my train of thought. It just went. But go ahead, pimp out what you want to. Go ahead, Jack. You first.
I don't really have nothing to pimp out. I mean, at least not on the video game side of things, because I kind of went with what you were saying about doing things once a month, and I think I kind of burnt myself out. Not to mention, I don't get into the whole fanboy wars as well, so it's not much to talk about. But I was thinking about doing a video coming up pretty soon in regards to the whole sports aspect of gaming, because I'm a big sports fan. So just to see how we've gone from such a plethora of games, which I've done a video similar to it, but I more or less want to kind of do something akin to what we're doing now, of like what you can do to kind of bring that sports genre back, opposed to just focusing on one game per se. Um,
Well,
and
look,
not
if you ever want to do that here, I'm always willing to open the floor for
okay.
that. So
Yeah, I'm about to say I'd rather do it through this channel because I really don't want to go through Streamlabs and do all that stuff. I mean,
yeah,
as far as I'm concerned, my channel is dead.
I'll be the host for it.
Okay, bet I would go with that. But I mean, I think that would definitely be something big, because I mean we've gotten to such a small level of all games really when you start thinking about genres and how it's just so small and the pickings are slim. So I definitely want to do something. So I mean, if you're down to do that, then definitely I'll pimp that out to say, hey, look, one of the episodes we can do that here.
Darn you, EA.
Oh, they're not alone. They're not
Yeah,
alone.
They are not
trust me,
alone
they're
on
not.
that. All right, Jay, what you got?
All right, so Winging the Podcast, Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just remember that. Also, we got Fresh Takes coming back because me and Vicky are going to be doing WandaVision. So
Oh, that's gonna be wild.
that dropped today on Disney Plus. First two episodes, they could have just gave us hour-long episodes, but I'm not going to complain. So, that being said, do have a couple of Let's Talks in the works over on my gaming channel as well. And I did go back and pick up Dead or Alive 6. I did not pay for the DLC.
Good.
That's too much. That's too
I
much.
only paid for the game. All right, I'm not spending $92 for some doggone swimsuits.
Hey.
Koei Tecmo.
Hey.
But yeah, I'm probably gonna be playing that a little bit because I actually like the Dead or Alive story, so I'm probably gonna be playing that a little bit. And probably throw some gameplay up on the channel. I think that's all I got planned out for now, anyway. So yeah, just stop by, check out the stuff. Like I said, we are all on the Winging It podcast, so you will hear from us on Sunday because boy, do we got some hilarity to talk about. Oh, and Monster Hunter Rise. So be there for that.
Yeah.
I hate you, Mizusune.
All right, so I when I was doing this before, I had a long spiel at the end, but I'm just going to try to keep it as simple as possible. I do open this idea, this whole podcast platform up. I do open it up for other people to come and talk about ideas that they have had, whether they have their own channel or not. If you're just somebody who is in the chat or in the comments, you want to come on and do a discussion like this, I am more than willing to take a back seat to let somebody else do it. Especially once I figure out how I'm going to get the camera set up so that you can see me on the normal screen as well as everybody else. First go of it, so the technical difficulties is all I can say. I'm still learning Streamlabs, unfortunately. That's the problem here. But again, I'm more than happy to let somebody else come on if they feel like they have a really good idea and they have thought it out and they want to explain it, or they have something that they think is a really cool concept and they feel like they could just use somebody to help tweak it. More than willing to do that. But outside of that, I don't really have anything coming outside of normal videos, even though the last 2 weeks I kind of took off. But I got my normal stuff coming. other stuff I am working on. It'll just take some time. I want to make sure it's right before I post it. But outside of that, thank you guys very much for listening in. I hope everybody enjoyed. I did enjoy doing this. And again, once a month. But these types of discussions are more speculative and imaginative than regular podcasting where you're just talking about stuff that people already know. Here, you're kind of just throwing whatever ideas at the wall and kind of seeing what works out and what sticks. So that's it, everybody. Hope y'all enjoy your nights, your evenings, and your mornings whenever you see this. And peace out, everybody.
Peace, love, and